usually use an ear set because it's a lot clearer. Now I'm working through my computer. I'll check the settings. It's really odd because I can hear everybody. I can hear very well on this end. So it may just be my microphone going out.
I can hear everybody fine, but you're just a little bit softer than most. My hearing isn't the best to begin with, so it's part of the equation.
I know to the right of where it says mute, if you click that, it has audio settings and you can adjust, your audio going out and your, obviously everybody else's volume.
Okay.
So if you click to the right of where it says mute and then you go to audio settings, it gives you another screen where it has output volume and input volume. You see that, Rob?
I'm seeing that.
Yeah, so I have the input volume like 3/4 of the way up and the output volume 3/4 of the way up. But I know some people blow me away and I have to I have to go back in there and lower the volume.
How's that? Is that a little better? I just moved it up.
Yes, that sounds good to me, Rob.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that is better.
It was actually on a setting called automatically adjust the microphone.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Rob. Am I clear, Steve? Out in space?
Yes, yeah, that's better. Yeah, yeah.
On control, you got me?
Normally I could hear you, you're a little softer than most. That's the only.
I know when Tyra talks, it blows me away. I gotta lower it way down.
Yeah.
Her volume's unbelievable.
Same here, yeah. Okay, thank you, Rob. Sorry, Aaron, back to you. It's your meeting is after 7. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, so I see we're all here. Rob Mann, Steve, Rhonda, Jim, Rob Words, myself, and it's 7:03, so we'll call this meeting to order. And the minutes will show that all 6 of us are present. For correspondence, I sent around an initial response I got from the NDDH about our invitation to negotiate our fee for the coming year, which the response seemed to be along the lines of not really negotiable. So I suspect that's probably not the last time we're going to be talking with them, so I'll keep you posted. There was also, I received in the mail, in the postal mail today, this is it says to Amy Sanders, First Selectman from Reedy Moran, tax collector, regarding 2020 Fire Department rebate program. So if you haven't received this in the mail yet, I suspect you will, because if a copy came to me, you may, I mean, unless I'm only getting a copy because I'm chair. This
Mine yesterday.
What's that?
I got mine yesterday.
Okay, good.
Is that the one that everything's in caps?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that.
Yes. Everything's in caps. I guess that means it's a loud letter. Anything else coming in
Not that I know
the
of.
last couple of days? Okay, so we'll move on to citizens' comments. And so we're in budget season, and so I ask if any citizen has a comment, they keep it to a total of 3 minutes. Is there any citizen who has a comment at this time? If you do, you can let us know by putting your name into the chat platform, or you can unmute yourself and say, I have a comment, and then you'll state your name and address. But is there anyone who has a comment at this time? Looks pretty quiet. Any comment, any citizens comment at this time before we move on? Any citizens comment? All right, we'll move on to budget workshop. I know that we officially, when we adjourned the meeting on Tuesday, we were in the capital improvement plan.
He's yelling for you for some reason.
And Matt Grauer, you'll have to mute. There you go, good man. We were in the capital improvement plan, and my impression is that we had gotten through everything that didn't have any connection to the school budget, because there are 2 items in the proposed capital improvement plan that are school related. One is hall flooring, the other is upgrade 2 locker rooms, and I suspect that could be part of the general conversation about the school budget.
think we
So
also-
if everybody feels okay with just skipping a few pages back up in this printout to the Board of Education budget.
Aaron, I
Aaron,
think
I
we
think we
were,
still-
we didn't do the library yet. We were waiting for Allison.
That's right. Thank you. We didn't do the library yet. Can we move? Oh, and Allison, here you are. Okay. Thank you for refreshing my memory. So let's move to the library budget. And I don't know, I'm flipping what page it is in the book.
It was on the capital, Aaron. It was in capital.
Well, I mean, are we doing, so we're going to stick with capital first and then go to operating? Did we ever go?
I
into
think there were two
operating?
library items under capital that we were,
Yeah, I think it was
open.
just the capital ones.
Okay.
we'd actually
so-
covered the library and the building. but
Well, I
don't
know
think
we discussed it. I just don't know if we had any questions for Allison as far as the operating goes. So then we're still in the capital improvement plan.
I think so.
So welcome, Allison.
Good evening.
So I see in the capital improvement plan, there's Library and Community Center Building Repair Fund for 50,000. There's Library and Community Center Building Roof Fund for 25,000. Any questions or comments from Board of Finance members on either of those two items? Any questions?
Maybe just explain the repair. Normally, that's sort of a part of the operating budget.
You mean the repair fund
Well, the library repair fund, yes,
for 50?
correct.
Is it not 25? What page are we on? Can we all go to the same page?
Yep.
Page
So,
110.
I'm on page 110 at the moment.
All right, I'm on page 101. So, let me see. Okay. All right, I'm on the right page.
So then I guess maybe Allison, if you can walk us through what the thinking is behind the requests. What are your challenges? What are your
Sure,
needs? What are you seeing?
I'd be glad to, best I
Thank
can. I apologize. I'm just returning from Maine today and did not have a chance to pick up my files from the office.
Not to worry.
If Orla could go to the detail page for capital, there's a lot of notes on the history of this account. Thank you very much, Orla. So we have this account for larger repair projects and issues that come up at the building. And a lot of the history is in there, along with the projects that we have on our radar, and then also some things that we're concerned about and others that we're trying to be proactive about. And yet, as we all know, life then happens and you have to go with Plan C and address the most pressing issue that might happen unplanned for. So while we would like to move forward with these projects that you see, it doesn't mean that that's what the money will go towards. Last year, we had to replace all of the 3 pipes connecting the outside oil tank to the 2 boilers in the boiler room. That wasn't on our radar. So that set back our HVAC plan. We have 19 air handling units in the building that are all well past their life expectancy of 20 years. You know, they're on 27 years now. We've replaced 2 large ones and 2 small ones out of those 19. So we're a few years behind on a replacement plan that we had hoped to move forward on. The telephone system needs attention, and we're hoping to partner with the town to update that. It's original to 1994, and we have some equipment failures that we're getting by with, and yet it needs to be updated at this point. That's what's popping off the top of my head. I'd be glad to answer any specific questions on anything you see noted there. I hope that's helpful.
Aaron, if I could ask a
Good.
question.
Go ahead, Steve.
Actually, it's for Orla. Orla, is this normally in the capital side of the budget, or I'm trying to remember prior years, and I honestly don't remember whether this is a capital type of item or more of a operating kind of item.
Yes, it's always in the capital side. This is
Thank-
a larger capital improvement project.
I remember the roof, but I didn't know if these kinds of things were in the capital. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions or comments for Allison?
I have just a question where it says balance 3/2/2020, 57,000. Excuse me, is that the current balance that you have left this year?
That's
you planning-
correct.
Is that going to be spent or, you know?
There's a light project. We have to replace a two-tiered expanse of lights in an area of the library that is requiring us to bring in some scaffolding. It's a project I've been working on for 4 months now with trying to get a vendor to commit. That's a large project. That's the only thing I have in process at this time. There are other things I'd like to pursue. We did do those 2 larger units, HVAC units, about a year ago. I'd like to move to the next 2. And that's kind of where we're at.
Now, Allison, could you tell me roughly guesstimate on the lighting project you mentioned?
It's about $5,000, Steve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Questions, comments on these items in the capital improvement plan related to the library?
Just a follow-on comment to Steve's original thoughts around the capital on the repairs. We have a line item in the operating budget as well for repairs around $20,000. I know, Allison, we talked about this last year. They're for different things. One's earmarked more for projects, one's more for repairs, but in my mind, I kind of group it as, a total kind of bucket, if you will, to take care of the different things. And just as you stated, what you think you might do may not be what you actually do, but
Yeah.
just reminding folks, there's another 20,000 in the operating side.
And those are usually for ongoing issues. I need to call in the plumber because there's a sink issue. I need to call in the electrician because we need ballast changed, which a handyman can't do for us. So they're smaller maintenance projects, and also a portion, about a third of that budget, Rob, gets set aside for annual HVAC repair. So we have to, there's 2 major seasons that we have to flip with the various pieces of equipment, and obviously things need attention as you switch seasons out. So as I said, about a third of that repair budget in the building budget, operating budget, is encumbered specifically for HVAC repairs as we move between seasons, which is usually when the problems show themselves. We then call in for service, get it addressed, and the system goes back to behaving, usually, knock on wood.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
Are we commenting on both, Aaron, or just on the repairs right now? Or are we talking about the roof?
I'm okay with people commenting on the repair fund as well as the roof fund.
Okay. I mean, the roof fund we talked about last year too. I think it got pulled out last year.
I think you're
There's a lot-
correct.
There's a lot of comments about the advantage to this. I think in general, people are supportive of getting out in front of big projects like this. And I also heard comments that, it'd be great to do that just across the board on other buildings. I don't know if we can afford to do it on all the buildings. That's maybe why it's not done. But my comment is, I personally, I think it would be advantageous as a town to have a fund for the buildings and for the roofs. And much like you said, Allison, where you don't know what's going to hit first, it would be nice to, whatever the size of the fund is, that we had something that could go to the most needy of needs when it comes to roof and bigger capital projects. That's maybe something more for the board to discuss or take up, but you know, something that's maybe not specific just to a building, but more broadly can take care of some of the town's buildings.
Rob, I would absolutely agree with you. I think maybe we should have a more general fund for, you know, major repairs to the town buildings, all the town buildings that we have. But just doing this one particular item as a fund in advance seems, it's just not consistent with how we operate the rest of our budget and our finances. So I'm kind of at a loss as to why we should do this for a number of reasons. But again, if we are going to do something like this, at least do it across the board, you know.
Orla, could you advance to the library building roof fund? Oh, I'm sorry, is it that fund established? Okay, could you, would it be possible to have that note updated? This was established, while the request reads as it's a request of the Library Board of Trustees, because that is within their wheelhouse to move our budget request forward to the Board of Selectmen before it, ending at the Board of Finance. This particular budget item was initiated by a previous Board of Selectmen. So it was not an initiative that the library board undertook. We were grateful to have it moved forward, but it was not of our doing at that time. So the building will obviously need a roof at some point, and a previous Board of Selectmen chose this direction on behalf of the building at that time, just to give you some background.
Any other discussion on either of these two line items in the capital improvement plan? Anything else? Questions, comments? Does anyone have any questions about, as long as Allison is here and she's not on mute, does anyone have any questions about the library administration operating section of the budget? It's page 70 and 71. Any questions about the operating side or comments?
I have a question there, Aaron.
Go ahead, Rob.
I'm going to open with saying it's not an easy question, Allison. It's not a decision. It's just a question. So please don't think that it's a foregone or was where my vote would be. It's just a comment that I'd like to get your feedback on your people. It was a difficult year with COVID and on a lot of fronts, as I understand it. Within the library, there was folks that couldn't go to work every day during the year, and now that's kind of behind us. We're back up and running. But given that year, call it a lighter year in terms of the drain on the work side of you know, the ins and outs of being there every day. If you were to propose, or if we were to look at a flat year in terms of no increases in salary, other departments have done that in other years, and I'm not interested in your opinion on whether we should or shouldn't. You put it in there, you want it. I got that. The question is really, do you think the people would how do you think that would be received if presented properly? Do you think folks would understand that and say, you know, don't like it, would prefer an increase every year, but given the circumstances, I'd be okay with it? Or do you think you'd have a big problem on your hands? It's kind of an open-ended question, but
Understood. I believe I understand and appreciate your ask behind this, Rob, for sure. And I completely feel for anyone that has a budget situation in front of them at this time. I cannot believe we are walking through what we're walking through still as a community, a state, a country, a world. It's unbelievable. And it's coming at a pretty heavy price. The library employees did not receive a wage increase for this current fiscal year. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Rob. Let me repeat that. The library employees did not receive a wage increase for this current fiscal year, as did many other town employees. We did not.
The wages this year are the same as wages for last year.
Correct.
This year being the year we're in, not the year we're contemplating.
Correct. Library employees did not receive a wage increase as of July 1 of 2020.
Thank you.
The library staff did extensive professional development work and virtual programming while the building was closed. It was very valuable to the staff. I have wonderful reports and feedback from them as we walked through those weeks together before we were able to return to the building when the governor gave us permission last May. We then did, while I was in the building, the staff wasn't before that, I was in the building doing extensive prep work to bring the staff back safely. Once that was accomplished, the staff and I worked together to roll out curbside pickup, which was very well received by our community. And we continue to offer it for those who do not feel comfortable walking into our building. We then got ready to reopen the doors in July. Again, the library opened in July to the public. And we have been very fortunate with the guidelines and procedures we have in place to not have had to suffer a backstep to close due to any circumstances or rising situations that we have gotten through. The staff feels very safe and appreciated by those using our library. And yet I would have a hard time saying to them, we have to sit out another wage increase this year, folks. I am not comfortable with that. That's my long answer to your question, Rob.
Fair answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, if I might ask, the numbers are not huge, but if I look at library clerks as an example, in 20, it was roughly 35.5 thousand. Please don't check. Yeah, and then it went. The current year is 38. That's roughly, I don't know, 8% increase or something. Yeah. Can you help me understand what?
Sure, that line, and you picked on the one line that is a little special, Steve. So
Okay.
That class of employees make less than what the minimum wage in the state of Connecticut is on track to become,
Okay.
I think, in the next 2 years. So last year was one phase to start raising those up. So those are not jobs below minimum wage. So they did receive a bump last year, but only that class of employee at the library, specifically to address the minimum wage upscale that the state of Connecticut is going through.
So they did get some of a raise. I understand your
The
reasoning.
library clerks did
Thank you.
to accomplish this minimum wage issue. And I don't believe we were the only department to do that across the town.
To add to that, Steve, for perspective, it was about an 8%. The minimum wage went up to 12
Yeah.
from 11 on September of 2020.
I see the library assistants went up, but again, relatively small amount, but
We're going to face that again this year. It's going to go up to 13 and then 14, and statewide it's going to go up to 15 over the next several years, $1 a year.
is it going up to 15 this year in Connecticut?
No, not 15 this year. It went up to 12.
Following
last
year.
year. It's going to go to 13 this year, and then it's going to continue to climb until it reaches 15. It's going to take
Right.
several years, but it's just something we're going to be seeing
Yeah.
in the next few years to come, that $1 every year until it hits the 15 mark.
So when rather than face a big lump sum at one point, or to affect the job pool, because that's the other thing, there's been some turnover in the clerk's position too. That was the approach that the library board wanted to pursue, is doing it in steps.
Anything else on the operating section of the library budget? Also known as library administration. Questions or comments, discussion, anything? All right. So then is everyone comfortable with moving on to the Board of Education budget? We good with that? Okay, we'll move on to that. And I just have to find the page number in my book right here. I know it's down close to where the capital improvement plan is. It's only a few pages above that.
Looks like it's page 108.
All right. There it is. Thank you. Okay,
And we have this too, Aaron, just,
yes. Any discussion from the board members? Any questions from the board members about the Board of Education budget?
I'll just make a general comment about the Board of Ed budget. They were, the school board's done, or the school has done two great things in the last couple of years. One is the Bradley program, which has reduced costs of special ed, especially transportation relating to that substantially, and saved the town big money. And the second thing was the change of the healthcare program. They were facing a substantial hundreds of thousands of dollars of increase in healthcare costs. Instead, we're able to realize a hundreds of $1,000s decrease in healthcare costs. So just really want to, give them credit for those things. That's why the increase here, I think, is less than 1%. And I want to give them credit for those two. Those are the two major initiatives. I'm sure they've done other things as well, but those two major things have allowed them to come in with a budget that's a relatively very modest increase, I think.
I agree with Steve. It's nice to see it's a very modest increase. So it's definitely within what the town would like to see, that we've seen at previous referendums. So I was very happy to see that. So I just want to concur with Steve.
I had a couple of comments as well. The first was similar to Steve. The insurance reduction was quite dramatic and well received in a lot of ways. And in many of the subsets of the book, it helped offset the wage increase.
Yeah.
That's all very positive. The two areas that kind of jumped out to me that I'd like to spend a little time on is, one, the technology. Lots of Chromebooks and look like a pretty sizable, almost as much as the 153 in the budget. I think there was over 100,000 just in the technology. Sure, it's needed. I think it would be nice to talk through that. Is that recurring every year? Is that every 5 years? And then the second was the ads of people. Again, not saying that they're not needed, but we're adding people. I think a full-time maintenance person, and then there were a few partial ads for part-time people. And usually once it's added, it stays. And that's an ongoing. People costs are very expensive, as we know. So what's changed in the building that's requiring another full-time maintenance person? That type of discussion. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. So again, agreeing with Steve, great job on the insurance side. Maybe touching on the technology and on the adding of heads, if you will, or employees.
Go ahead, Melinda.
I guess I'm the one to answer these questions, and Bill Birch can join me on the maintenance. However, let's talk about the technology first. We were really fortunate last year to receive some grant funding. Remember that when we closed our doors in March 13th of 2020, we were not a one-to-one device. Not every student in the district had their own Chromebook. We had to beg, borrow, and steal and pull apart laptop carts to send home laptops with our elementary students. Because of that, we never did, through the whole process, grant funding provided preschool K 1 and 2, I believe, with new laptops. And the laptop cots that we kind of broke apart are old. And the grade 4 and 5 students actually need an upgrade because those devices are starting to fail. They're not under warranty. And we have to maintain a one-to-one device program moving forward, primarily because of the remote learning option that will probably be needed moving forward as far as educational practices, even outside of the COVID pandemic. And so the 125 Chromebooks that are in the budget are primarily to replace those dated devices. Also in the budget, we started with 120 devices for our faculty and staff because the devices that they currently are using and are failing are 6+ years old, and they were used when we received them. However, when we were putting the budget together, we wanted to make sure that we were being fiscally responsible. We decided to break it up in chunks. And so the first go around is to replace the high school teachers' laptops. So the money there in the technology budget, you will always see some replacement amount. However, we need to start to replace the faculty and staff dated devices. They failed a lot during the pandemic. And then we also have to look at those older laptops in grades 4 and 5. So that's the technology answer. Last year, when the budget was reduced multiple times, we had positions, we had a retirement in our maintenance staff. Because the budget was reduced, we ended up not filling that position. I'm going to call on Bill to tell you why it is so critical that we put that position back in, because it's costing us more money than it will to be to restore that position. So Bill, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Melinda, real quick before, because I kind of asked two questions at the same time. Before we move to the maintenance,
Yep.
thank you for the explanation on technology. It's moving from about 50,000 to 150 this year.
Right.
If 400,000 came in. And I understand that there's an aging fleet, if you will, of equipment. Would you expect that we've got about 150 ahead of us for the coming years? Like, is this a new norm that we're going to have this, and we didn't necessarily have that mandate before? Or is this maybe 1 year a big punch and then we'll get back to a lower level of maintenance?
We're going to have a cycle of replacement, as the Chromebooks that we purchased originally when I first came on board, which was 4 years ago. Those devices, a Chromebook is inexpensive. They take a lot of abuse, obviously, with the students, and they go out of warranty after 3 years. And so it becomes more cost effective to replace the device rather than pay for the repairs. And sometimes the repairs isn't worth fixing, right, on some of those dated Chromebooks. So in the budget, and I don't know what that number is going to be, but you will always see a replacement cycle for the devices that we currently have in the district. It's just got to be. We're going to have to continuously recycle those devices. We have to maintain a one-to-one learning platform.
Thank you.
Do you want me to have Bill go on to the?
Sorry.
the
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, Bill. Thank you.
Please do.
Hi, Bob. So let me just bring up about this reduced maintenance person. As Melinda said, we had a retirement right around the first of the year last year of a longtime maintenance person. We've always had 2 on staff for the last several years. And his retirement coincided with the pandemic, and due to the situation that we had and the budget issues, we did not fill that position this year. But I have to go back to say that leaves me with 1 maintenance person. And most of my staff is long-term. They have 4 weeks vacation. So if this guy's on vacation, that leaves nobody on site. But again, beyond that, you know, as Allison alluded to earlier when she discussed the library building, she has to call a plumber to change a faucet. She has to call an electrician to change a ballast, minor carpentry jobs. We historically have done all that in-house. And the building is the same size. The building hasn't shrunk. And it costs twice as much for me to hire an electrician or to hire a plumber as it does for us to do those things in-house. Additionally, we have 13 boilers that run in that school every single day. And they're not small boilers. They're of sizable BTU output. And if one fails, you don't always have the option to get somebody there right away. Northeastern Connecticut is not a place that's very easily accessed by vendors. We work diligently to make sure that the maintenance guys are well-trained in that heating equipment and the air handling equipment that goes along, all the HVAC equipment that goes along with keeping this place warm and reasonably cool, requires a lot of maintenance. We spend 2 to 3 weeks a year just changing filters. And if we have to farm all that out to outside contractors, then I believe personally that the cost is going to be far over what it costs to hire that maintenance person back.
Thank you.
Any other questions, any other discussion, any other comments about the Board of Education budget?
One question I might ask.
Go ahead.
Budget has been susceptible to changes in special ed needs. What are your thoughts going forward? Are we, what happens if there's a decrease or an increase? How susceptible are we to those kinds of changes?
So,
With the budget that we have now?
yeah, Steve, we don't budget for any contingency there. And I can tell you that just last week, we have 4 out-of-district placements and a possible 5th out-of-district placement that we're going to have to deal with. Luckily, Mr. Jones, the People Service Director, has done an outstanding job of trying to really maintain that budget. But we always budget for the students that we have at hand. Never, in every other district that I've worked in, there was always built into the budget 3 to 5 additional out-of-district placement tuitions, because you know that children are going to move in and out of the district. But just last week, we're faced with that challenge where we have 4 additional children that are going to require out-of-district tuition. That's in 1 week. And we have been doing due diligence all year to reduce the number of students going out of district, as you well know, through that Bradley program. But we did not budget for any additional out-of-district tuition fees in this 22 budget.
So your budget is for the number of students you had at the time you prepared the budget?
Correct.
And this change of 5, I don't know whether there's been other pluses or minuses since then, that's 5 additional over what we have budgeted?
It is.
What does that do to your budget, or do you know?
We don't know. I mean, obviously, Mr. Jones is going to work with those families, see if there's a way to bring some of those students into our on-site Bradley program. But a lot of that takes time. These students are new to the district. So there's a lot of work behind making adjustments to a student's placement. It's not that easy. We can't go in and tell a parent, you're going to move from that out-of-district placement and you're going to come to the program on site. It takes a lot of meetings. It takes a lot of testing and a lot of trust building before that can happen. So prior to prior to last week, we budgeted for the students that we had currently in out-of-district placements, like what has been happening since I've come to Thompson. We budget for the students we have.
Rhonda, I know you had your hand raised.
I did. I was simply going to ask a question that she already answered, was basically, were they new students, and it was, would it be possible that they would migrate over to the other program at some point? So she answered them all already. Thank you.
And then any other discussion? Any other questions? Any other comments? On the Board of Ed budget? Go ahead, Melinda.
I just wanted to point out that the increase in the budget is for two very important positions that long-term is going to save the district money. The full-time transition teacher, we do not currently have a transition program for students from 18 to 21 years old. The district is obligated to provide education for students beyond graduation that meet a certain criteria. In the past, we have those students go to an out-of-district placement and we pay out-of-district tuition. That tuition with transportation can exceed $100,000. Adding our own teacher and developing our own transition program will certainly save the town long-term for students that are starting to age into that group. We have 2 students that are going to move into transition next year, and then following the next couple of years, even more students going into that program. So adding the transition teacher is one of the reasons that there is a budget increase there. And the other is to add a half-time technology educator at the high school. We have expanded our manufacturing, construction, and engineering career pathways, and to add more courses and to handle the students that are interested in taking those courses. We add an additional half-time staff. So that increase of $153,000 basically covers those 2 new programs. But the transition program is critical because that's the program that's going to have long-term savings for the town.
Thank you, Melinda.
Any other discussion? Any other questions? Any other comments on the Board of Education budget?
Quick comment, Aaron. I think it was very well done. Steve indicated that. I think the budget was laid out very well, very thoughtful. It didn't feel stacked with things to take out later. I think it's a very reasonable and realistic budget. We can always go through little things and little items like we're talking about the different ads and the people, but I think overall, very, very well done body of work by the team, Melinda, you and the team, Bill.
And the members of the Board of Ed that spent countless hours going through that budget.
Lots of people involved, so it's really great.
Questions, comments, discussion on the Board of Education budget? I know as we went through this budget, we had, I guess, put little notes and bullet points along the way, things to quote unquote revisit. I don't have that list in front of me, but is there any parts of this budget? I guess here, maybe I should ask this question. And this is probably not a Melinda question. Maybe this is more of an Orla question, but are there any parts of this budget that we didn't have precise numbers when this was put together, and now that it's April, whatever it is, maybe we have more precise numbers. Maybe some numbers are clearer than they used to be. That would give us more specificity.
Aaron?
Yeah, go ahead. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but that's a typical question that we ask each season is anything that's more clarified now.
I just stepped out of the room to go get something from my printer.
Sure.
So you asked me a question, I came in at the tail end of it, and I don't know what the question
No
is.
worries. We're talking the Board of Ed budget and things get kind of quiet. It feels like we've kind of discussed to our satisfaction for now. And I said, well, I know as we were going through this budget the last, whatever, 6 weeks, I guess, we had, a couple of bullet points here or there we wanted to revisit and rediscuss. And I thought, you know what, a common question that we typically ask is, all right, it's April, whatever it is there anything that maybe is clearer now than maybe it was 4 weeks ago? Are there any prices for things or revenues or whatever? Sometimes things become clearer that help you tell a more precise story as to just exactly where we are. And if there's nothing that's clearer than it was 4 weeks ago, that's fine. I just figured I'd ask.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I have been working while you guys have been talking on making necessary changes. Couple of things you had asked me to look into. One was see if any of the expenditures could be revised for the estimate for fiscal 21. I did give the deadline of yesterday, so I did get some feedback from some of the department heads. Most people came back and said no potential changes. A couple of departments did. So I've plugged them in. I'm actually going to send you this book at the end of the night, just so you guys know, as there's any changes made, it's highlighted in yellow. So when you get a scanned copy from me, you're going to see, for example, a highlight in yellow. Okay, so not a huge amount of changes. There was some changes on, just give you guys an idea. Say that's veterans. We made a minor change there. There was some changes for selectmen. If you want, I can flick through the departments that we made changes to. Okay. Some changes here for selectmen's budget. These are, again, it's regarding estimates for fiscal 21. So we brought down, we won't have any meetings or travel because nobody is going to meetings right now. Everything is held online. So, but the anticipation will be that we'll be back to prior COVID meeting activity in the new fiscal year. So a small reduction in advertising and a small reduction in printing and also office supplies and miscellaneous. Then on the IT side, Marie did a lot of work reviewing all these departments and based on some adjustments that we've made and also some revised actuals coming in a little bit lower than what we had budgeted. She's anticipating 56,000 for the maintenance agreement. I'm just going to scroll up a bit. And also while we're on this page, small little reduction for supplies from 12.5 down to 11.5.
Orla, are you sharing the screen?
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
Yes, you mentioned scrolling up, and I thought maybe you're looking at the
I
screen.
didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah.
No, I'm glad you did.
Scrolling up, I
I
thought.
had stopped sharing it when you guys were talking about Board of Ed, so
There we go.
sorry about that.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna go, okay. Do you want me to go back to for selectmen's budget and you can see where I'm
There you go.
referring to?
Thank you.
Some minor changes there. Some minor changes and minor reductions in the estimate for fiscal 21. If we're good with that, I'm going to scroll over to IT. So, we have a budget here of 60,000. Well, this budget, software and transparency, was all tied to a request that I had submitted to the Board of Selectmen, who did not support it going forward to the Board of Finance. So we're not going to incur that expense this month or this year. So we're going to be definitely down 2,000. And each of this and quality and Munis came in a little bit less than what we had budgeted. So, so the bottom line is we're looking for a reduction of fiscal year of 56,000. Again, it's just the fiscal year. So, and the same with supplies. If you guys are good, I'm going to scroll over to Town Hall building. So again, a couple of decreases here and there. Decrease on travel. Again, nobody's traveling as much. Electricity, it looks like we're coming in a little bit under where we were for budget, and Service contracts, a little bit less too, just based on, we have a revised contract this year with our elevator company through the school. Bill Birch was able to negotiate. So as a result, we definitely have a little bit of a decrease on what we initially anticipated for the contract costs. Copier leases, we have new copiers, so we have a better contracts. We're going to come in a little bit less there. And water and sewer, again, somewhat lower just based on the actuals that we know we're going to be paying out. If you guys are good, I'm going to scroll on to the next department. Just a small amount in general services.
All of these changes are to the estimate. Have you made changes to the proposal? Just make sure.
No, this is all to the estimates.
Thank you.
Okay, so then scroll over. Marie was able to reach out to Teague to see if they anticipate the need for the assistance of fuel, and Miller said no, she's not going to need it for this year. So that's going to come in at 0. And then we adjusted the elderly housing sewer charges based on what we know we're going to be paying for the year. The rest of these categories are as is, and they're the one-time payments to specific outside sources. Now, I did get some suggested changes from the elections, but I'm not going to change them here because, as you guys know, for financial statements purposes, we have broken down COVID expenses versus non-COVID expenses. And the proposals that Frank and Eileen are proposing for changes to fiscal 21 include the funds that we have received for election grants for COVID related grants for election and registrars related activities. So I'm going to leave the estimates as is for that department. Let's see, I think that was it on the proposals. I also reached out to each of the departments regarding possible changes to revenues. And if you just bear with me 1 second, I'm actually going to share an email that I got from Rainey.
Pardon me, Orla.
Yeah.
Before you move over to revenue, can we pause on expenses for a moment?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So could you put the file back up,
Okay, will do.
please? Thank you.
Sure. Okay, what department would you like me to go to, Rob?
Go to the last one, general, or anyone at this.
Oh, general services, sure.
Same question across all of them.
Yep, go ahead.
Are you comfortable here, if you look at, for example, in the emergency fuel assistant, it went to 0. We know why. It's going to go back, and you have in the budget 6,000. In other cases, things went down for what I would call a one-time event. We're not going to have another COVID, right? So a one-time event drove some of the costs in the estimate down. But it's very likely they're going to be back. Like we mentioned travel. I know it's a small number, but let's not hang on the numbers right now. The travel went down, but eventually we're going to get back to our prior normal state. So throughout these line items, are there areas, or do you need to go back through and look where we haven't dropped something down this year and then continued that into next year inadvertently, let's say, and it's going to bounce back up on us?
I don't believe so, but this is an Excel spreadsheet. So either way, I'm going to be checking my formula and making sure they're feeding into the right columns. But I don't believe so. No, any of the things that we did, temporarily remove for estimates of fiscal 21, we have ensured that they are still in fiscal 21 or fiscal 22 if needed.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big task. There's a lot of lines, but that's an area that could bite us. And we could be, partly into the year and looking at that saying, boy, we missed it. We continued it on the downward trend. We missed it. And that's the call out for the question.
No, I know. It's the nature of trying to work with a spreadsheet.
A lot of detail. Thank you.
Okay. If you guys are okay, I just would like to flick over to the revenue, if you don't mind.
I'm good with that.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I want to share Rainey's email because unfortunately, when I did walk away to that printer, it didn't print for me. So, okay, let me try and share this document. I haven't even read this. So if you want to take the time to read it, it might be helpful. It's in relation to what he anticipates for revenue through the rest of the year for taxes. Are you guys still reading it?
I'm not, you can go down.
I just forwarded it to everyone.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're on it too. So I guess what he's really saying here is the current year's revenue. He's given me an idea of what we're likely to receive, which is typically something that I'll get from Rainey after we finish March's close. That's when we usually have the discussion with regards to what's going to happen next. I'm going to scroll over. I think he said that he will make up the shortfall in prior year taxes because we are already pretty close to that anyway. I'm going to scroll over here to the tax lines. And okay, so what we're anticipating here is going to be less by $108,000.
And that's FY21.
Oh, sorry, wrong line. Estimate here is going to be less than. You know what? I underestimated when we originally did this back in January. This is what we were anticipating at the time. So we're actually going to come up higher than what we anticipated back in January, which is good news. So I'm going to take this number here, which is our actual budget number for the year, and reduce it by 108,000.
Pardon me, Orla, could you share that part of the screen?
Oh, okay. Can you not see what I have?
We're saying the letter still.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes. Okay. You think I've got the hang of this by now? Okay. So what can you see the general property taxes screen, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, we're good. So, so the budget number is for current year taxes 16.924. Rainey's suggestion is we're going to come in current year taxes lower by $108,000. He is saying that we are higher on prior year taxes. I'm going to leave the screen open, but I'm just going to flick back to his email and just reference back again to what he's referring to. He thinks we will make some of the shortfall up in the prior year taxes where we have already collected 90% of the budget with 3 months to go. So again, I'm going to flick back to what you guys are looking at right now. So on the prior year taxes, I'm going to suggest that we do an even and leave it as is. Interest and liens, I'll leave the same, but we were already anticipating a reduction here on the motor vehicle supplement because of the issue at the DMV. However, it looks like based on his email that he's anticipating a shortfall of $68,000. Okay, so I will be removing, sorry, 67. So I will be removing 67 from the budgeted amount. And there we have some revised estimate for taxes. If you guys are good, I'd scroll on to the next item that I have.
Well, I just want to make sure you reduced it was the motor vehicle supplement by 67. And then, it was, I think it was 41,938 is the amount that Nutmeg Container is not going to pay in tax revenue. I just want to make sure that it's 67 and 41,938 as opposed to you put 67 in one line item. I just wanted to make sure you didn't put 108 in another, because if you put 108 in the other, then you'd be counting the 67 twice.
I was, and thank you for noticing. So,
Yeah.
I will add back the 67.
I'm gonna just calculate that to make sure. Yeah, it's, I guess if you were to round it, it's 109, because it's 108,938.
Okay, yeah.
That's the total impact of Rainey's email, is a negative 109, if you will.
Yeah. There we go. I have it 108, but I think we're pretty close, right?
He says 108, so
I'll leave it as is. Okay, so the others are, we have some local revenue adjustments here.
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
So based on this here, this is the current year that made some changes in the current budget. For the 2022, do we expect to receive more due to those changes, that they're going to be coming in later?
Well, as you see, we've already increased prior year taxes.
Yep.
By 50,000 already. And these are numbers that have been provided to me by Rainey before.
Okay.
I think conservatively speaking, we're better off not increasing any of these lines.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
Sure, no, I'm glad you did, but I think we would leave them as is.
Orla, the other question was, and maybe the answer is you can't count it yet, but there was another email from Rainey about a back tax, prior year tax, and he used the word encouraging. I think the house is under contract, so that the town would recoup about 50, he goes
58,300.
Yeah,
58,329.
Is that
Yeah,
gonna,
go ahead.
is that gonna roll into next year, or is that something that would still hit the 21 estimate?
I don't know. I'll have to talk to Rainey and find out, because I'm just reading it now.
Okay, well, we can address it later. There's another 50,000 floating out there, potentially.
Can you make a note of that? I'm sorry.
Dottie,
Orla?
can you make a note of that? Dottie's been sending me my list of homework for everyone, so I can make sure I haven't forgotten my notes.
If we can increase revenue slightly, it helps, so.
What I'm also opening here now is an email from the town clerk with similar proposals regarding changes to revenue. So let me just take a look at this. I'm going to share this for you guys too, okay?
thank you.
Unfortunately, I was at a conference most of today, so I'm only actually getting to look at this information this evening, so apologies. So here we go. So what this is information we already have in. What I had asked her to do was take a look at where we were for fiscal 21. So she had her original estimates in for town clerks as 70, where she's talking about 80 now, an additional 10,000 on the conveyance tax, 500 on vitals, 200 and an additional 200. So I'm going to take those numbers and add those into the budget. Just bear with me. Did I share it correctly this time?
Yeah, we can see the
good.
budget spreadsheet.
So I'm just gonna take what she gave me here. I know this is tedious. I'll be done in a second, guys.
Take your time.
I think I've got them all in there. Let's see, town clerk. Now you see, we budgeted town clerk only 49,000 and it's coming in substantially better. Okay, so 80,000. Let me just make sure I got all those numbers correct. So her new projection is 80, 130, 8, 200. We already had the dog share in there. So that's good. Okay, we're good. I'm just gonna save that before we go any further. Okay, so I got that in revenue in. Rich and I were going back and forth also on some of the other revenue lines. As this building was already estimated by Terry to be 125. He anticipates 125 coming in for this year, and that's what he, as you know, he already budgeted that for next year, so I wasn't gonna make any necessary changes. So it looks like we're gonna take in, we'll probably take in the $200,000 in transfer permits. Now that report that Rainey shared with you guys, I just gotta swing back and take a look at it and see what he had in there for revenue so far for what's the station? Okay, we have already received over the $200,000, which was budgeted for permits. So we haven't even sold the seasonal stuff yet, which is really helpful to hear. As you see, this is 100,000. We could easily increase that up to $210,000. $10,000 is $10,000. And I think I'd leave the rest as it is. That's it.
To interrupt, I think you missed a zero.
I did. Thank you.
Big miss. Okay, you got it. 100, 210, yeah.
Good. Okay, so the other thing that I was working on, in fact, let's swing back over my homework list. Okay, so if we go back to some of the earlier requests. So we wanted to know, I did provide you guys with the total for the 2.5% increase. I believe I sent that in one of my emails to you. The more recent homework items included the stuff that really came up. Can I talk about debt service? So I did reach out to our lease company. So yes, it is possible for us to roll all this debt into one. Basically, we would pay off all of our existing leases and then we would refinance the leases again. The interest rates, we most likely would get something around 3 or 4. And if I go into our book here at the moment, I just want to take a look and see what we have for rates for each of the leases that we have currently. Okay, so it looks like most of our leases, if you average out our leases, the average is 5. He's proposing at about 3.25%, 3.5%. So I definitely will be looking into the option of doing this. If we refinance, we would have to determine as to whether, because each of these has maturity dates, different maturity dates, say we're going to refinance it over 3 years and take the whole lot and refinance it over 3 years. Either way, by refinancing, these numbers will change.
Right.
So if it's something that we want to do, I'll get the ball rolling on it straight away.
And Orla, to clarify, this would just be the objects that fall under 522470.
Correct. Just the notes.
Right, there's the 522460 is not in that basket. 522465 is not in that basket.
No, this will be different finance.
Yep, that's it, just want to make sure.
Yeah, this would not be through the banks.
Orla, excuse me, question.
Go ahead, Rhonda.
So if you were looking at the years 22, 25, and 24, let's say you were to, go with 23 to have them all paid off. That would still be, even though, the term would be extended for the 2 22s, but it'll be decreased for the other 3. It should be a positive still, correct?
Hopefully, yeah, especially with the lower interest rates.
Okay.
Again, keep in mind that we're earning virtually 0 on the cash we have, and we're paying even the proposal. It's less than 5, but it's still 3. You said 3.75%. I'm flabbergasted why we would want to pay interest when we have money sitting in our account, earning virtually nothing. I'd rather just pay this off and then we don't have to fund this every year and save some money for the town. That's a real
Well,
save.
the issue, it really comes down to, we discuss our fund balance on a regular basis. That was something that I'll be working on for next Tuesday for you guys. But in reality, one of the things that came up in the call the other day that we had with regards to the bond sale, couple of banks chose not to bid on us because they looked at our fund balance and saw how low it was. Currently our fund balance is below 7. I know a lot of the reasons why it is low is we did have a number of appropriations in fiscal 19 and fiscal 20, but both of those projects are reimbursable up to 68 or 72%, depending on the project. But we haven't got any of that money back yet. So until we receive all those reimbursements, our fund balance is still going to stay pretty low. If we wanted to start talking about paying off these bills, it's going to increase our debt service substantially in the short term. And I get where you're coming from, especially with interest rates so low and us not getting any return, Steve. But I just don't want to leave us vulnerable with our fund balance. I don't like to have it any lower than it is. It's already quite vulnerable.
Well, I'm not talking about prepaying the school the almost $6 million there, but these vehicles and so forth, which are, I know they're not minor for any of us individually, but they're relatively minor for the town. It seems inappropriate to spend, to be paying interest and earning none on cash that's just sitting in the bank. It seems foolish.
Well, if you look
And any
at
underwriter evaluating the town in terms of whether we're worth providing bonds to subtracts the cost of what we have financed already. So those, yeah, our balance might be a little bit higher if we don't pay these off, but our debt is also lower if we do pay them off. So there's an offset there.
Well, another thing that came up in the conversation we had with our financial advisor was regarding, I guess we look at it from the same perspective as a person who's trying to establish credit. You're not going to be able to establish credit if you don't have any debt. And because we haven't borrowed in the last few years, we don't really have an updated bond rating. We did secure a good interest rate on the short-term funding, but our financial advisor was expecting a number of other banks to bid on us. And again, they chose not to because we didn't have an updated bond rating. So, if we pay off all our debt, and I know you're not referring to the bonds, you're referring to the notes, it still comes down to the same factor as, we don't have enough debt, which sounds ironic, but it's true.
I find that tough, hard to believe.
Steve, can I interrupt for a second? I asked at the last meeting, and I'm hoping Orla will provide it before we make any decisions on these numbers and or the other vehicles that we looked in the capital expense column for the town garage. What I wanted to see was the big picture, which would be if we looked at this by paying these off cash out of fund balance, plus go ahead and make a one-time purchasing of the 2 trucks at the town garage. What would that do to our fund balance and our percentage and our bond rating versus if we refinanced these and also financed one or both of the trucks, what it would look like from a big picture perspective, looking at our fund balance and in that same scenario. So I think that by seeing a comparison of those, it's going to give us a little bit more insight as to the best way to move forward for the town as a whole, and leaving our bond rating or whatever it's referred to in a healthy area, according to the auditors.
Yeah,
That
I think
would
I
be my
brought that up
suggestion.
before. Yeah, Rhonda, I think I mentioned that before, that's something I'm going to be working on for you guys for next Tuesday. There's a number of different steps during that process. So the first step I took yesterday was to contact our leasing company and to see if we could possibly refinance the leases. So that's the first part of it that I've done. The rest of it will be, as I say, breaking down again. I do have financing for the 2 vehicles that we're proposing, but the financing I have is leasing. Now keep in mind, if you want to borrow any money, you have to request it at referendum.
No, I understand that, Orla.
Yeah, that's the most big, if we finance money through the banks, you are going to have to ask for it.
Well, right, I meant the way that you're doing it now through the lease to buy, but kind of look at Steve's ideas versus this idea and take a look at how it affects the big picture as a whole. And it's going to give us as a board, I think, a better bird's eye look, a big picture as to the best way to manage this debt and or the trucks, financing them or paying cash.
Sure, no, I get that, but also keep in mind, our fund balance is not in great shape right now.
I know, but I think it would make Steve feel better to look at that too, and just
No, of
see.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
So what I'll do is I'll work with the numbers that I have, with the estimate reimbursements that we're expecting back, and give a more realistic look at what our fund balance is before we propose any of that. We know that we appropriated 284,000, I think, in this year's budget, right? 284,000 in the fiscal year budget of this year. Balance the budget. So that's already coming out of our fund balance.
Oh, meaning, hold on, Orla, do you mean 284,000 of surplus?
Yeah, we appropriated 284 surplus out of fund balance to balance this current year's budget.
Right.
You know, we may not need all of it, but we're certainly going to need some of it because revenues are going to be down.
Rob, man, I just wanted to make a comment too. Also, if we're gonna pull some money out of fund balance event, if we decide as a board to do that, we should also just look at maybe possibly paying off the highest interest loans, opposed to, you know, just buying the new things, you know, the new truck or trucks with cash. We should probably look at paying off the higher interest debt, opposed to doing that. That way we get a lower interest loan if we buy something else, opposed to, you know, we're better off with a cheaper interest rate than we are a higher interest rate, obviously.
Yeah. I just did some quick math while we were talking, and I'm looking at these vehicles that fall under this basket called note retirement, the one that's got the number 522470 in the far left column. So that's 169,771. If you add to that the two trucks that are in the capital improvement plan, that would be 568,000. If we were to wipe out what's on the books and then buy two more trucks, that would be 568.
Aaron, it's Rob.
Yep.
That 169 though is a yearly number to pay down a total of 456 in principal. The number you added to it, that 400, that's the full principal burden, not the yearly obligation.
I think the 400 is the two new trucks, Rob, and you're right, column P is the amount outstanding as of 7/1/21.
Okay.
I think the same thing Aaron was saying, but it rolls into the principal side line of it.
But hold on, but the down the bottom of column P is $6 million. So that can't be just the trucks that are in.
No, that includes the school, $6 million, 5925 for the school.
If you take into account just what's in 522470, Aaron, it adds up to about 450,000.
There you go. Yep. Oops, sorry.
How come it's not summarized on the spreadsheet?
Aaron, on line 6 of that, on the spreadsheet line 6, the reason there's 6 million at the bottom is because there's 6.3 million at the bottom is because there's 5.9 of
Right.
school funding.
Principal.
Right, so hold on, now the number's gone. So 6324 minus 5925.
And 105.
It's that whole row.
Yeah,
So
there's no
that's
subtotal.
294. Yep. All right, thank you. So that's 294 plus 195 plus 202. So it would be basically $670,000 to wipe out. If this is how I'm following you guys, it's $690,000 to wipe out the trucks that are on the books, plus buy the two new ones that Rich wants. 690.
I'm not sure of that, Aaron. Orla, could you give us the total of those 5 items?
I'm just trying to.
Okay, so
I'm trying to follow the math that I think I'm seeing.
I was just trying to get into my accounting systems, check some numbers. Now, if we look here, this is the principal as of 7/1. if you take all of these principal balances, it equals $456,000.
Okay, 456.
The number, Aaron.
So to pay off, this is what's left. In other words, this is what the lease payments are left.
So
You
it's,
end up getting away with a little bit less than this because these dollars include
Mhm.
interest through the end of the terms.
Oh, okay. So you
So-
did give you less than that,
so-
gotcha.
but it's
Yeah,
so
so
it's based on, just using round numbers, using the numbers that are inside that don't move the box. Using the numbers,
456.
don't move the box, using the numbers that are in that box right now, plus the 2 trucks that Rich is hoping for, that's about $850,000. If we were to wipe out what's in the box and buy the 2 new trucks.
Correct, that's correct.
That is a pretty sizable amount of money. Okay, thanks.
Do you want to stick on that? One of the other questions that I was asked to get some information from, and I can bring it up on the screen and send it to you guys afterwards, is a history of contingency. I think, Steve, you might have asked me, correct?
I think so.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I can stop sharing the document and show you something.
One last question on this, Orla.
Go
Kind of-
ahead.
Kind of a compromise between the full refi and where Steve was going of paying it off.
Yep.
We potentially could get, latch onto that 3.25%, right? Drive down the 5% average that we're paying. Refinance at the 3.25, keep our 169 flat. In other words, back into it so that we're still paying 169 a year, which is the total of payments for those 5 vehicles.
Correct.
And then we'll just pay it off at, let the variable be time. We'll just pay it all off earlier. We're not changing our
Yeah.
yearly burden, we're just getting there quicker. Not immediate like Steve wanted, but we're not waiting a 3-year term or whatever we pick. We just run it out at 169 until it's 0 and we're done.
Like that thought. Rob Man.
Yeah, good idea.
I agree, and it will keep us in a better standing by doing it this way as opposed to paying it all off in cash.
I look into both options. I'm just looking to see if I got another email in from the lease company today with anything better than what we were talking about. Yeah, he threw out a possibility if we were to pay it off on 5/31 and refinance on the same day. He thinks we could get into something about 3.25 to 3.5. Yeah, I'm just checking to see if he gave me anything else. Oh, no more information.
And Orla, maybe he could look at, I don't know if it's possible, but could he look at leasing what the lease would be on the 2 new vehicles?
Yeah, he already gave me pricing on that, actually, Rob. I think if not, if I have it for you, I can actually send you the numbers. But it's approximately, before we start talking about refinancing the existing ones, currently, if we were to do a 5-year plan on those 2 vehicles based on the current rate, it would be about $89,000 each year for debt.
Yeah.
You gave us 89,000 last meeting, so that was already at the reduced percentage. I thought that was more at 5%. Maybe I didn't catch it.
No, it's at the similar rate. I ran those numbers for him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The rates have gone slightly up since then. So we may not get quite as good, but he was probably looking at less than 3 at the time.
Okay.
So it might be a little bit more than that. Either way, I will have him update them and we can look at a couple of different options. So if you have any other thoughts about this afterwards, before I approach him tomorrow, I'm tied up in meetings in the morning. It won't be till the afternoon. Just give me an email in the morning and I can reach out and ask him for a couple of different options.
And so, Rob Wurge, at the risk of being redundant, I just want to make sure when you were talking about running the 169,700 out for a few more years in order to retire earlier, you're talking about just what we can see in front of us right now. That's not including the 2 new trucks that Rich has included in the capital improvement plan.
That's correct.
Yeah. Thanks.
Orla, are you, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Rhonda.
No, I didn't know if you were done with this section. I had a quick question I wanted to ask before you move forward. That's all.
No, go ahead. If you have a question on this department, fire away.
No, it's not on this department.
Okay, what is it on?
I was just curious, this is again, a big picture question here, but do we have any stimulus money coming into the town? And if so,
yeah.
can that be used in next year's budget to offset some of our expenses?
So this is a very gray area, and I've had lengthy conversations with various different agencies with regards to what we're going to get and how we're going to spend it. But let me give you a summary of what we have. We have $82,000, which came in December, and we've only spent a portion of that. And then we have $926,000, which is coming in over a period of 2 years. I can give you some brief updates on where we stand on that, because that was part of the conference that I was at today. The government basically passed the Rescue Act, but they didn't provide direction as to how they were going to distribute and how they were going to spend it. We've got as far as it's going to be distributed from the state. The government has 60 days, and the 60 days expires on the 11th of May to distribute the first half of it and also tell us how they want us to spend it. Because of the nature of our small town, it's not coming directly from the feds, it's coming through the state, and the state has an additional 30 days to come up with telling us how we should spend it. So we may receive half of that by the 11th of May, but we may not have full direction as to what they expect us to do with it. There's some broad information that I got today that I'll share with you guys when I'm back in the office tomorrow. But it spreads from anything from infrastructure to broadband to public health to assisting nonprofits and small businesses in your community to providing emergency relief. It's so broad, it's hard to know where to start. So the only one that I would recommend that we would associate with any COVID funds that we're getting is really the public health money, because that's the one thing that's very clear from the direction that we've got so far is it's a public health emergency. So if you were to assign the $64,000 or $65,000 that's been requested by NDDH, we could certainly cover that 100% out of any of the COVID funds that we have received so far. So that gives you a little bit, it's kind of a broader version of answering your question. It's so up in the air. It's just really hard to know how best to spend the money. And I know the school's going to be in the same boat. It's almost like, they're throwing the money at us and then telling us afterwards what they want us to do with it.
So just to kind of peel the onion back here a little bit further. So the 900 and some odd thousand, is that the total amount that you're expecting to receive for the town together, school and town as one? Or is there going to be another allotment that would be allotted over to the Board of Ed?
There's a separate allotment to the Board of Ed. So it's basically, we're at 926, the school is at 1,083,000, and it's going to be received over a period of 2 years, and we have 4 years to spend it. Whether we distribute it to different agencies or other sources outside of the town of Thompson, either way, it has to be distributed and spent by the 31st of December, 2024.
And we're not going to know what to spend it on until like minimally 60 to 90 days from now, correct?
I think they're going to take every day they possibly can. So I don't think we're going to get entire. We may get dribbles of direction. I know from the state of Connecticut's perspective, it's a little bit difficult because just to give you a smaller version of how this was managed, when the American Rescue Plan Act was established and signed, with regards to funding going to local government, it's a huge percentage of funding that is going to local government, much more than we've seen in any of the other acts. In fact, half of the money from the American Rescue Plan Act is going to city and state government. So if you take that aside, what they decided to do, I guess the majority of the states in the United States manage their government via counties. Connecticut doesn't do that. We have 169 towns. So what they did was they took the funds and distributed among the counties that we have in the state of Connecticut based on a per capita calculation. And from there, they're going to do they did an additional calculation. So there's a number of different criteria that have determined that we're getting $926,000. But it's still unclear as to what they're going to do with it. So I know that's more information than you wanted, but this is a head scratcher.
Well, it's a huge amount of money that's coming in to both entities, and it's important to know about it. It's, they definitely need to give us direction, because you get that kind of money, even if you get half of it, here and half of it there, it's just sitting there doing nothing if we don't know what to do with it. So.
Oh, yeah.
Melinda has a question. I'd like to hear Melinda's comment as well, if you don't mind, Aaron.
Hold on, I just want to make sure that this number, Orla, did you say it's 926 or 986?
926.
926 on the town side and 1,083,000 on the school side.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
That's how it's broken down.
Melinda, go ahead, please.
So on the school side, where we are under a specific criteria, there is 20% of that money that has to be allocated specifically to learning loss. A big chunk of that money has to go for social emotional learning support. And so right now we're writing a grant for the ESSER2 funds, and there are all sorts of criteria. We have to establish, do a needs assessment. We have to establish SMART goals built on data. Then we have to comply with their 4 priority areas. So there is tons of strings attached to those dollars. And so it's money that is supposed to help us get over this COVID hump. So it's for supplemental things like social workers and psychologists and other support clinicians for students who are going to come back to us not being in school for 2 years and have to transition back and may have difficulty doing that. So even the bucket of money that we're programming for now, all sorts of data, all sorts of criteria, evaluation, and then that is all approved by the state. So it's not, it's very complex, actually. One of the more complex grants that we've had to put together, but they want accountability on how you're using those dollars and how it's going to impact this COVID pandemic. So I just wanted to let people know that it's not a bucket of money that just falls in our lap and we can do what we want with. It's very specified on the Board of Ed side.
I think I would agree. It's definitely down on the town side too, but I think it sounds, based on what I did here today, was the school is getting better direction on what is expected of them than the cities and towns are at the moment. So, but yeah, either way, we're going to be accountable for every single penny that we spend.
Go ahead, Rob Mann.
No, not only that, but when Melinda said strings attached, it probably means, like she said, psychologists and different things. It probably means that you have to keep those people on long after the money's gone. I know a lot of times that's how grants work. They require you to have, certain criterias which go on far past what the grant money lasts.
And to answer that, Rob, the Board of Ed is very cognizant of that, and they always warn about the funding cliff. So if those dollars can help us, for example, in the ESSER2 grant, we're writing in a HVAC assessment because that's one of the criteria that your ventilation system is working optimally. So there, you can use the money to do that assessment. If there's repairs in the building, it might be a one-time thing that we can, not flooring, not locker rooms, but specific to health, like a ventilation system or something larger. Yeah, you're right. And so the Board of Ed always warns me, especially when we're going for grants, that we got to watch out for the funding cliff because we might not be able to sustain something after the grant money runs out. So.
Thank you.
I had a question, Melinda. Is there any opportunity, because this is closer to home, remote learning is a direct result of COVID or increased remote learning? Can any of those funds, or will they be contemplated to use for some of the Chromebooks and the the higher cost, I should say, of IT due to COVID?
Yeah, it definitely, it can be related to that, yes.
That might be an opportunity if they allow it. I mean, it's a need. You've already done some this year, but if we could use some of those funds for that, that would free up funds for other things, other important.
I have a question too, Melinda. Are any of those like psychologists or specific things that they have outlined? Do we already have any of those type of people employed at the school currently?
So we only have one social worker, and we have 2 psychologists that spread over the 3 schools. We certainly are strapped for support service providers, and we know that there's a lot of work involved to re-engage the disengaged families who are home distant learning and might not be actively engaged in our schooling. And so there's home visits, there's a lot of extensions that we're going to have to do. And so the one social worker that we have in the district for the 200 students that are already at home distant learning, the 52 students that withdrew for homeschooling, which might be temporary, there's a lot of legwork that's going to happen. So the staff that we currently have on site was never adequate to meet the needs of the students. So it's an opportunity, obviously, to put some staff in short term, but wondering ahead, how are we going to sustain that? I don't know. I don't know if there'll be future grant opportunities for that type of thing as around mental health and social emotional learning. But we only have one social worker, and we added that by removing a guidance counselor at the elementary. We just swapped one for the other because the skill set for a social worker is much different than that of a guidance counselor at the elementary end. We need another social worker to manage the high school and the middle school. For sure.
The social worker is the psychologist. Is that one and the same, or do you
No.
have? So I guess my question would be, for the current people that we do have employed in that position, could that grant money be used towards them plus additional teachers?
This is supposed to be supplemental in addition to.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that side rail there, Aaron.
No apologies necessary. That was a worthwhile discussion point. Is there anywhere in this budget that anyone wants to revisit and rediscuss? That anyone has any questions on, that anyone feels that they want to learn more about?
I think it would be helpful, Aaron, if Orla could maybe review overall what 1% would look like, just so we can bracket it. So right now, overall, now that we've gone through everything, it's about a $1.4 million increase as stands. Well, there were some adjustments along the way, but Orla, do you mind going to the second page of your booklet on the screen?
You mean like the summary screen?
Yeah, the summary screen. Yep.
Can I ask a question, Rob, just while she's doing that? Aaron, are we tonight gonna go and make some decisions as far as, whether we're going to pay something off or finance it or make cuts or whatever, or are we doing that next week? I don't want to go against the agenda that you have going.
Fair question. And I know my impression is that Orla is going to get a bit more information. If you're talking about that debt service page that we're looking at, and there were trucks and leases and then
Right, because it's going to make a big difference in the big picture that she's putting up on the screen now, that's all.
Yeah, you're right. But my impression is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Orla, that she was going to do a little bit more research to kind of give us a sense of What happens if we pay them all off completely? What happens if we do, if we don't pay, don't make any changes to the leases that are on the books and bring on 2 more vehicles? And what if we do a mix? At least that was my impression.
Right, so we'll see what it's gonna look like for the current budget as well as the big picture, fund balance versus debt ratio.
So we know what it does to fund balance depending on the decisions that we make.
Okay, thank you.
At least that was my impression.
That's what I thought too, so I just wanted to clarify that for my own self.
And
Thank you.
That's a decision that can't be thoroughly made this evening. But yes, Orla, thank you. If you can bring us to the homepage, because that's a page that I like to look at from time to time, just to get a sense of, to remind us where we are, big picture.
Yep.
And the page is not being shared yet.
Oh, it's not.
There you go.
Okay.
There it is. Thanks, Orla.
I didn't expect to be sharing so much tonight. I wasn't ready. Didn't have my sharing hat on.
Sorry about that.
The question-
You're doing a good job, Orla.
So I was actually planning to work on the estimate forecast through the end of June while you guys were talking about school, but I'm happy to share what I have.
Orla, do you mind scrolling up a little bit and then I'll ask my question? It's a quick one. It just helps me frame things when I think about the impacts.
Scroll down or scroll up?
I guess scroll down, move the screen up.
There we go. There we go.
So here,
Okay.
yep. So
Thank you.
the total of increase is 1.4 million in F19. That represents 8.2%, correct? So,
The tax warrant increase.
yeah. So could we think of this as, you know, a 1% increase would be roughly 140,000? Right?
No.
1% would be 140.
1% increase of the budget or 1% increase of the mill rate?
Well, I'm getting to the mill rate first of the tax warrant.
Oh, okay. 1%, okay, 1% of the tax warrants, we're looking at prior year would be,
I'm sorry, 170, that's correct. That's what I had, 170, not the delta.
Sure.
171. And then if I look at the mill rate, we've got roughly 1.5, 1.5 equals about 6%. So every quarter of a mill rate move is about 1%. Is that,
yes,
okay. So 170,000 equals 1%, which equals 0.25 mill rate move. Or 0.2423.
Rob, a mill is, I think, approximately 700,000 roughly,
722,000.
Full mill. So
a full mill, yeah.
A quarter of a mill would be a quarter of that, which would be 170,000. I think, I'm confirming all this, so.
So the 171 would be approximately a quarter of a mill. It would be 24, it would be 0.24 of a mill.
2.4, okay, okay. That's bracketed then, pretty close. It's not exact to the third decimal, but 1% would be about 170,000, which would be about a quarter of a move in mill rate.
Correct.
I don't know if that helps others, but just, we're thinking 3/4 of a mill rate move, you're looking at 170 times 3, and et cetera, however we.
Or you could take the 722 and divide it, accordingly, either way. That's the
Yeah.
way I would have figured it rather than multiplying it, but for the different thinkers out there.
Yeah, okay. That's all I had, Aaron. Like you said, it's nice to come back to this. It kind of grounds us back now that we've heard everything, and where are we and where do we go type of thing from here.
Got it. And so, Orla, if I follow what you're typing in now, is to get a sense of what kind of, maybe I shouldn't assume, but obviously you're putting information about the sort of the different benchmarks between 0.5 and where we are now, which is, I mean, we know what 1.5 mil looks like because we're looking at it. It's 1.47. But obviously putting in the benchmarks. And so I guess my question is, are you putting in benchmarks that tell us how much would need to be reduced from the budget to reach those benchmarks? Or what are you looking at from a reduction side or the increase side?
I'm looking from how much we need to get to that mill rate increase.
Yeah, got it. Meaning how much we would need to reduce this budget by?
Correct.
Got it, thanks.
Yeah, it was something I was gonna do for you guys. For Tuesday.
No worries. I didn't put in the formal request yet, so I'm not gonna hold you to that.
But I know you mentioned it to me, so I was,
I mentioned it in passing on Tuesday night. It was not a formal request, so I was gonna put in the formal request tomorrow morning in anticipation of Tuesday, so I'm not gonna fault you if you don't have it right now. It's not a big deal.
Okay, good, thank you. Well, I'm gonna try one and see if I can bring it over quickly, because we still have a couple of minutes here. It's not 9 o'clock yet.
If I could jump back into, Orla, I think some of the reductions that we did make, albeit they weren't a tremendous amount, but some of the departments offered some reductions. And I don't know if that flowed through to your homepage. Like you dropped road resurfacing from 500 to
It did.
450.
Yeah, let me just show you where that shows, Rob. So,
In other words, that 170,000 might be off a little bit.
so the reductions I have are 50,000 to paving, and then the two bridge design and bridge inspections, both of them were reduced by $10,000. So if you take into account, you already added that 10,000 in for the first selectman salary, the net effect is 60,000.
And Rob, if you look at the budget that we have here, that we already have, you're going to see that the proposed increase was originally 1.58 instead of 1.47. So the small changes that were made are reflected.
That's it, Rhonda. I noticed that change, the numbers that you just.
So that's on page 1 of our budget. It's like the same front page, but it's been different than the one she just put on the board.
I noticed that on the summary page. Yeah, 1.47 is what we're looking at right now, but what's in the printed books that were put out however many weeks ago is 1.58. So clearly the movements that we've made are showing up on the home screen.
Super, thank you all.
Okay, to get to half, 703.
Rob, I'd just like to share some things because we've been on the board for a while and it just could make things easier for other people that we've struggled with initially, so.
Thanks,
Okay,
Rhonda.
this is what we're looking at. If you guys want to have a little chat about this. Okay, so to get,
Orla, sorry,
Yeah.
but if 1.5 equals 1.4 million, 700,000 would equal 3/4, right? I'm just double checking your numbers before we dive in.
so if we're talking about bringing it down to 0.5 of a mil, we would need to reduce it by 703. It's a little bit less than 722, which is the mill rate. Is that what you were referring to, or was it one of the other line items?
Well, I'm just looking at if 1.5 mil, which is what's showing on the home page now, that correlates to a 1.405 overall increase, right?
Yes.
19, yeah.
Yeah.
So to reduce it to 700, that would be 0.75. It would be half of the 1.4.
Yeah, well, to reduce it to 700 from 1.405, that's coming down to 0.5, because 1 mil is 722,000.
Okay, so then how can 1.47 mils be 1.4 million? If one is 722, then two would be.
Now,
Just
keep
wanna-
in mind,
Want to double check the math, Orla, that's all.
I will either way. Yeah, you're right. I'll check it regardless.
Yeah. Because doing it on the fly like this, it may or may not be the same numbers that you'd be doing if you were in your office and you didn't have us all staring at you.
Oh, it's fine. Either way, I'm gonna check my numbers at the end of the night regardless anyway, but, based on what we see in front of us, knowing that 1 mil is 722, and if we're at 1.47, and if the previous calculations are correct, which I definitely have to be questioned, we would have to bring it down by these dollar amounts. That's what we're talking about, bringing it down. Do you guys have any idea of what mill you're looking to get to?
I don't know if we've answered that question yet.
I think next week it's gonna, once we have some solid information regarding the big ticket items, it'll give us a much better picture of where we are.
That's true. I'll have to take a look at my calculations regardless, so.
Any other discussion, questions, comments on on this page or any other part of the budget? Anywhere in the budget?
Any departments you guys need to go to?
Yeah, is there anywhere anybody wants to visit? Anywhere anyone feels like they need to learn more? Orla, thank you for checking, when tonight or when you're, in the office or home office tomorrow. Thank you for checking the numbers that you put in on this homepage, the numbers that we would need to, the dollar amounts that we need to move in order to reach certain benchmarks. Thank you for checking on that.
Sure, no problem.
And thank you for looking into options for the lease to own contracts that are already on the books, notes that are already on the books. That's helpful. And then
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
I was just saying the other things I'm going to look into is fund balance and see where we stand and see how we'd be affected by potential reimbursements. And then if we chose to pay off all of the loans or choose to pay off all the loans and buy the vehicles outright. I'll give you a number of different scenarios and I'll send it to you guys to review over the weekend.
And then I recall that April 13th is potentially a significant day because there's a conversation with our insurance company, our insurance rep.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll get more information about various insurance products that could move in a, I guess, perhaps potentially a favorable direction for us. We don't know.
Sure, yeah, well, it'll certainly be a discussion. So I may not be able to provide the information before Tuesday's meeting because we meet in the afternoon, but I'll keep you guys posted on Tuesday night.
That's it. Even if you can have that information sort of in a clear format by Tuesday night, that would be great because that's when we start making decisions.
I do want, Steve, you were asking me for contingency numbers. I'll email it out to you guys. Also, there was the actuals. I just got the numbers in, I got the numbers in from Rainey for revenue. So now I can put together some revised forecasts of where we're going to stand at the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year with regards to surplus, et cetera, et cetera. Anything else you guys would like me to look into?
One other thought, Orla and team here, and if it's not meaningful, then let's not chase it. But with the high level of construction permits that are out, will those convert during, now, from today forward? And would that be a form of revenue that's worthy of at least looking at? Again, just only because it's so high, that may be something that's not in the run rate until it's converted, right? Until the CO, certificate of occupancy.
Yeah. Until they get the occupancy certificate. That might be a little bit difficult because the building secretary is on vacation.
Rob, you're not
Um,
talking about the permit fee, you're talking about the assessments of those buildings.
Exactly.
New construction, correct?
New construction, yeah, the tax on a piece of land is now gonna become a tax on a home. And that's times 10 homes, maybe there's dollars there that will flow through. Again, it's an estimate, we're not gonna know with surety, because it's a timeline that we're not in control of, but I didn't know if that was worthy of at least, trying to get some estimate on that.
I'll talk to Paul, the assessor, tomorrow morning and see if he can give me some estimates on it. With regards to the timing of occupancy, that will be the challenge for me to get while Terry's secretary is out on vacation. But I certainly can get an idea of how the revenue would change. So I'll have a word with Paul tomorrow about it.
Orla, on that topic, and just for the board, I just want to put this out there too for consideration. I understand how that could be, Rob, and it could increase, the taxable income. But at the same time, and I have no idea where we are as a town, but once the executive orders are lifted on foreclosures, we may have empty houses at the same time with people. And I don't know when a house forecloses, if the taxes still get paid by the bank or if that kind of just sits on hold. So that could potentially offset that gain. So I just wanted to throw that out there as something. Another COVID up in the air thing that we may not see.
Anything else, anybody? Any other questions? Any other discussion? Any other comments?
I'd like to say one thing before we adjourn. I just want to say thank you to everybody for, since we first started on Zoom a year ago, I'll tell you last year's budget season was extremely stressful for me. I mean, I didn't even want to continue another year after that, being the fact that we couldn't go to town meeting and we were on Zoom and it was just so much confusion. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. This year has been, if you could put it as a pleasure, it's been very less stress this year. So I just want to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thanks for hanging with us. You're a good member of the team.
Well said, Rhonda. It's been a challenge, that's for sure.
I'm sure it's been a challenge for everybody, not just us as a board, but everybody, especially the school, with all that. I don't need to call it nonsense, but I am going to call it with all those changes.
Sure. We know what you mean. Anything else? Anything? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, so I was entertaining. So Rhonda, you've got the motion. Anyone want a second?
I'll second Rob Word.
Okay, so Rhonda, you've got the motion to adjourn. Rob Words has the second. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? This passes 6-0. It's 9 p.m. We'll see everyone next week on Tuesday evening.
Sounds good.